Är det det på då?
Oh, okay, well, I have something here. It's not actually a creepy story.
Okay.
Um, I think it's a true account of a man. So there's a man named Edward Mordrake. He was reportedly the 19th century heir to an English peerage. He had an extra face on the back of his head, which could neither eat nor speak. It was like a defect from birth, although it could laugh and cry. Edward begged doctors to have his demon head removed because supposedly it whispered horrible things to him at night, but no doctor would attempt it. He committed suicide at age 23.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's some creepy shit.
it is.
Wait, is that true as well?
Hold on, I'm gonna look up some
That's
stories.
true, yeah.
Oh shit.
Okay, it's a bit of a long one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
This story, it's unnamed. However, it was written by a guy called Blue Tidal. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a nice person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. Okay, first of all, who does that? I don't know
No
anybody
one.
who does that. A night person. Like, I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all of that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was a Wednesday, the scariest of days, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police patrolled park, quite a few ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, which are usually the busiest of nights for some reason. With very little traffic and almost no one on foot, the park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment, when I first noticed it. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man, dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. So I guess he was like doing a dance and then he was also using it to sort of move around. So you do a bit, take a step forward, do another bit, take another step forward. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass by me. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, and wearing an odd suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back, and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing, and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about a block and a half between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved, until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time, staring at him, and then he started moving towards me again. He took a giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone. Except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept towards me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling, his smile still looking to the sky. Is everyone still with me here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a good story?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very
Kind
good.
of creepy.
When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. But what came out was a whimper.
What the fuck?
Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can definitely hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then, after what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go, until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. Then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore. Nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. Oh, I've lost the page. I ran too. I ran until I was off to the side of the road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder. I was expecting to see a stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night. I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very scary thing to see. That was an alright story.
Oh,
That's a good story.
You're a good reader, man. Hey.
Don't ever laugh as a hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up in a big white sheet, from your head down to your feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you up with dirt and rocks, and all goes well for about a week, and then your coffin begins to leak, and the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, the worms play pinochle on your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose, they eat the jelly between your toes.